is an advisor to Reform UK and a former MEP, and reckons that he has been debanked. So, Ben, let's just get straight into it. What happened?
Tell us your story.
Well, I mean, it's a kind of non-event, my story, because I suspect I reacted like the vast majority of people who get debanked. But anyway, I got a call in September 2020, after I'd stepped down as an MEP, from my personal banker, who said, you've got 2 months in which to find new bank accounts. That's for you and that's for your businesses, right across the board. And I asked him for an explanation, and he said, the bank has simply decided it, no explanation offered. I complained. The complaint wasn't sustained. I went through the normal processes. Back in 2020, I didn't know that there was something called a subject access request, which is the mechanism that Nigel Farage used to get Coutts to disclose to him the information they held on him. And I did what I think the vast majority of people who do when they get debanked, which was go off and find a new bank as fast as I could. I was under time pressure, and I found a new bank, and I was lucky to find a new bank. And actually, funny enough, when Nigel was debanked and he did that little video, which I'm sure you all remember, where he said, I've been debanked and I've been to 10 banks and I can't get a new bank account. I bumped into him in a TV studio the following day, and I said, Nigel, you've been debanked. It's quite serious, but can I just give you a bit of cautionary advice? Be careful what you say on air, because other banks won't touch you if you come out vocally. And I was concerned for Nigel's personal position, because I thought, well, you've been debanked. If you come out so strongly, you won't get another bank. And he said, well, Ben, this is what I'm going to fight. And good for him. Well,
whatever you think of Nigel Farage, is one thing for sure, is that he used his platform there to do something which I think everyone can agree something that needed saying, because we don't know how many people this has happened to who will never have that platform, who will never get that.
I find it extraordinary, though, Ben, this environmental and social governance score. Most of us didn't know what it was up until fairly recently. But this idea that now what you will do is identify customers of yours that you can accuse of racism, sexism, homophobia, transphobia, and then you will ban them. Nobody voted for this. This isn't an official regulation, and I find it extraordinary that they're allowed to get away with it.
So, I run a regulated business. This is not restricted, by the way, and it's very important we understand this. This is not restricted to the banking sector. These regulations apply to any business of any size, all regulated businesses. And because all regulated businesses are required to ensure that those that they trade with similarly comply with these regulations, it has found its way right across the economic ecosystem. And I've complied through my business, because I'm regulated by the Financial Conduct Authority. I've complied with these regulations, and I never thought to try and understand where they came from. But since it's all kicked off, I've been looking into it in greater detail, and the rot started. It won't surprise anyone to know the rot started in 2006 when Tony Blair was Prime Minister, and he introduced Section 172 of the Companies Act 2006. Which for the first time in British corporate history foisted an obligation on directors to take into account not just the profitability that they deliver to their shareholders, the protection that they offer to their creditors, their employees, and the taxman, which are the four crucial obligations that directors used to have, but this greater stakeholder concern, which extended to the environment and to social justice generally. And the delivery of this social justice has been seen by the vast majority of regulated businesses through the prism of diversity and inclusion, which, as we know, is the promotion of minority interests, if necessary, to the detriment of the majority. And of course, Nigel sees everyone as equal. Nigel wants to have a debate about net zero. He doesn't want to just adopt it as it's delivered. He's got an issue with unbridled immigration, as do I. And they decided that his views were not compatible with their obligations and their adopted policy as a result, as you mentioned, Andre, of these environmental, social and corporate governance regulations. And they just decided they were going to debank him. But the mistake they made, they could have got away with it, but the mistake they made was then putting out that false story to the BBC, breaching the sacrosanct obligation that banks have to treat their client proprietary information confidentially, and that did Alison Rose, and thank goodness it came out as a result into the public domain.